to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Martin Klotzman, Director of Marketing and CRM Operations at Ivory Consulting. Thanks for joining me, Martin.
Hey, Jesse. Thanks a lot for having me. Really excited.
No, it's glad to have you on the program, man. I think I've been fortunate enough to kind of seen your career in equipment finance, and it's exciting to just have you on the program. So thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen 200 episodes. I was waiting for my turn, and I'm finally here. So I'm excited.
It's just like, why did it take so long? It's not nice. So, Martin, for the people in equipment finance who have yet to meet you in person, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career to date?
Yeah. So I guess just going back a little bit, born and raised in California. Now I'm actually a recent Chicago transplant, but I moved to San Francisco for college. I did my undergrad there in finance. I then went and did my MBA. And while I was in my MBA program, I ended up meeting Scott Thacker, who's the CEO at Ivory Consulting. And when he told me that he was in leasing, I thought he was leasing cars, and I quickly learned that there's this whole other world out there. So I started as an intern at Ivory, and over the past decade, I progressed from an intern into a director role. And now I lead everything marketing. I lead our CRM operations, and most recently, our initiative to explore artificial intelligence for our operations, primarily for sales and marketing enablement. And I've been very fortunate to be really involved in the industry over the past decade. Very involved within the association. I sat on a number of different committees, the membership committee, service provider committee. I was one of the founding members of the ETAC, or the Emerging Talent Group. I was privileged to chair that group in 2022. And most recently, I was nominated or elected as the youngest member ever for the Equipment Leasing and Finance Foundation Board of Trustees. So it's been a really great and rewarding career so far.
That's awesome, and all this before age of 30. So congratulations.
Yeah, I wish.
It's fantastic, Martin. Thank you for giving that background. So how did you find out about Ivory exactly? I know you went in and you said you had an internship. Did you find out through school?
No, so you know what? I like to call this an industry by chance, because
Okay.
most people that you meet, they're kind of here by chance. You either just
Sure.
kind of fell into it, or you know someone who knew someone who introduced you. And I just so happened to meet Scott through a mutual friend. And while I was in my graduate program, he offered me an internship, and that's how I first started at Ivory. Yeah, when I was going through my master's program, my emphasis was in sustainability and green technology, and I always thought that I would end up going that route, but I'm very happy that I ended up landing in equipment finance.
It's a question I asked a lot of people. It's like, how did you stumble in this kind of I don't know, a unicorn of an industry? That's what I call it. I mean, I'm biased because I think this is my 20th year.
Mhm.
But I was only outside the industry for 2 years before I found it.
Yeah.
But like you said, by chance, all by
Mhm.
chance. So I want to jump into Ivory, if you don't mind. Do you mind just kind of discussing the organization, what you guys do for equipment finance companies?
Yeah, sure. So Ivory was started over 40 years ago by Chris Ivory. And in that time, we've spent over 40 years perfecting Super Trump, really making it the premier lease and loan modeling pricing solution for the equipment finance industry. We're trusted by 9 of the top 10 Monitor 100 companies, and actually a majority of the Monitor 100 companies. And in that time, SuperTrump has expanded into multiple platforms, including as a web application, as a native Salesforce application, and as a server as well. And we're still continuing to refine and enhance SuperTrump. And the majority of our large customers have very highly customized versions of SuperTrump. So we're constantly making more customizations and enhancements to the product. We also have a couple more tools, Portfolio Intelligence, and it's really used to perform a comprehensive analysis of your lease portfolio. So you can measure your portfolio by segment, customer, financial product, really any way that you like. You can run what if scenarios to better understand and manage your risk factors, structure buy sell transactions to syndicate all or part of a portfolio. And our most recent product is our asset management solution. So it is, as far as we know, it's the only end-to-end asset management solution available in, within the equipment finance market. And I like to call it the Salesforce for asset managers, the CRM for asset managers, where asset managers can perform each and every task and obligation that they're responsible for in an environment that's completely configured to them. So whether it's for your valuations, using your data to optimize and determine the best residual possible, on the disposition side. So if an lease is nearing end of lease, it enables the asset managers to prepare for those scenarios ahead of time, whether the customer wants to purchase the asset, renew the lease, return it back in inventory. If it's returned back in inventory, it provides a remarketing platform. And it's also just a really powerful reporting tool. So as long as the data is in there, you can report each and every way that you would like.
That's fantastic. And then when did you join Ivory?
I joined Ivory back in 2014, I think.
2014. So was it, and you have to forgive my ignorance here, was it just a pricing tool when you joined, and then were those other products ancillary since you've been there? Or I guess in addition to?
When I first joined, it was Super Trump and Portfolio Intelligence, although Portfolio Intelligence was released a few years before I joined.
Just had to ask the question because typically it's like when I see people utilizing an Ivory product, it's typically you see Super Trump everywhere. And you'll have to tell me who that, out of the 9 of the 10 to Modern 100, who isn't part of that, so we can go have a conversation with said company.
I'll take you up on that.
That's fantastic. And so you mentioned, a magical customized word. And, as a software company or product company, that's always a unique scenario, right? Because you want to make sure you're taking care of your clients in the best way, in the best fashion you possibly can. Does it ever come out of where it's like just way out of the, just, hey, this is way out of the ordinary, man. What are we really doing here?
Man, I'm sure we've had a few of those. I'd probably have to bring a couple other colleagues on to really give you the war stories.
It's a difficult question. I just, as someone who has sold software for a while, right? It's kind of one of those things where it's like, God, you want to make them happy, but it's like, am I really gonna? Is this really worth it?
We've definitely had a few of them where it's like, well, this looks like you're just writing a whole new product at this point.
It's like inversion control. Good God, good luck with that. But that's fantastic. And so on the marketing side, actually, let's circle back here. So I guess, why are people utilizing Ivory today?
Yeah, and I think it's because our entire philosophy revolves around the customer. So we're obsessively focused on understanding our customers' unique problems and solving their unique challenges. And whether it's customizing our solutions to fit their exact needs, or providing continuous support to ensure their success, we're always putting the customer first. And I think today it's extraordinarily rare to find a technology provider that's been around and thriving for over 40 years. And I believe that's attributed to our customer centricity, which is why we are trusted in the equipment finance industry and have the brand and the reputation that we do have. And at least for our customers, it's not just as a technology provider, but really as a long-term partner who is focused on their growth and their success.
Well said, Martin. You can definitely tell where some of the marketing that you guys got came from. That's phenomenal.
It all ties together.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure the relationship that the goodwill that you guys have built with your clients throughout those 40 years makes it a lot easier when you unveil some of these newer products where people are like, yeah, I like that. Let's go.
That sense of trust has really been built very well and very strongly over the past 4 decades.
Just got some big shoes with Scott, man. Got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I really do.
with him, but he's a great guy, and I'm sure he's been a great mentor of yours to date. So,
Scott, I could definitely say that I would not be where I am in my career, having accomplished what I have, and pretty much everything without Scott at this point. He's been an invaluable mentor to me.
Perfect. So, marketing and equipment finance.
Yeah,
it's sort of a foreign concept, right? I mean, you see some of the very few organizations in this industry actually do it well. So I guess what are your just what are your thoughts on that, and then just marketing in general in this space?
Sure. I guess I'm going to focus on five different subsegments of marketing.
Huh?
As a service provider, it is B2B marketing, um, and we focus on a number of different things. Most recently, I don't think it matters what industry you are in. I think the most impactful marketing tool out there is a customer case study. Um, and
I agree.
satisfied customer sharing their success story, I really think goes a long way. So we put a lot of effort and focus onto really building out that library. And these stories they validate our technology's impact. They provide real world examples of ROI. And one of the most rewarding aspects of my job is working closely with our customers to create these compelling narratives and to show how our products help lessors streamline their processes and grow their portfolios. And that also leads into the account-based marketing. And this is where you really focus on, targeting specific high-value accounts. As with your background in software, many equipment finance companies have a very long sales cycle. I actually have a colleague who, for one customer, he ended up putting his kid through college before that deal ended up closing. So it can take quite some time. But this is also a great way to connect with key decision makers, and it involves creating personalized campaigns and collateral that is tailored specifically to the client's needs and pain points. And this is something that we can do just because the solutions that we provide are so flexible. For every lessor with just about every use case that you could possibly imagine. And this content marketing ties into everything. And
Sure.
every day we're exposed to so much information day in and day out that, at least my philosophy is that if you're going to share content with your audience, there needs to be real value in it. So we take pride in positioning ourselves as thought leaders and this in the industry. And this can involve from anything from, putting together white papers or articles that are top of mind, and participating in industry events, and not only seeing customers face to face to continue building those relationships, but also participating on panels and discussions and sharing information that's relevant, whether it be about evolving regulations or what's happening in artificial intelligence. And technology, I think, also plays a very large role in this today. So we really leverage marketing automation and data-driven insights to ensure that all the content that we are delivering is relevant and that we are reaching the right audience at the right times. Whether it be a prospective customer for a nurture campaign, or sharing relevant industry updates or enabling customer success programs.
Yeah.
And then, we will analyze those various KPIs and we'll continuously optimize to better understand what's working, what's not, what needs to change, what we can improve. Because at the end of the day, it's really just about delivering information that's, helpful and relevant. And lastly, this all ties into lifecycle marketing. So I talked a bit about what goes into the perspective side, but
Sure.
the marketing journey doesn't just end after a customer signs up. It's also about creating as seamless of a post-sign-up experience as possible. So this can range from onboarding programs to regularly providing helpful and relevant product information. One of the initiatives that we have is with our Did You Know campaign, where every single month we share a tidbit of information about Super Trump that you may not know just because it's such a deep product, to customer support, and then ensuring that the customer receives, the right support when they need it. My philosophy on marketing is that our job is to be an advocate for the customer and to constantly be thinking about, what more can we do, for them, and to better understand their needs and pain points and jobs to be done.
Wow, that's phenomenal, and there's so many things to unpack in what you just mentioned. But I mean, it's like I said, this is going on my 20th year, and people are like, when you sit there and try to sell a widget, or you're trying to now where it's like selling a service,
Mhm.
it's always the first, I want to say, handful are very difficult. But
Mhm.
if you're truly bringing the value that you anticipated on build, if you're bringing that to fruition, then it's just a snowball effect,
Oh
because
yeah.
then it's like leverage them, and then it's like, oh, recommend this guy, recommend them, they're going to do a good job and everything else. So those case studies, it's what's helped me forever. Because people are like, oh,
Yeah.
how are you going out and getting new business? And it's like, what, 90% referrals? And then it's just, as you mentioned, it's quality over quantity.
Hmm.
I get
Yeah.
frustrated. I'm sure you do too in this industry where you get these things from people and you're just like, come on, like, what does that really mean to me?
Yeah, I think that trust is a snowball. I think the trust is a snowball effect. As that trust grows, that snowball grows, and at the end of the day, I really don't think there's a better advocate for you than a customer that you've shown real value for.
And more importantly, if you're not showing that value, what can you do to fix that? Because
Exactly.
we all start off these relationships and we all
Mhm.
want to do the right thing, but nothing is ever going to be 100% perfect. But it's what do we do at that point in time to rectify, then fix it?
Yeah, and that's where the post sale experience comes in. The marketing journey isn't just over right when the customer signs up. It's really
Sure.
ensuring that after they sign up, that they're receiving the best possible experience that they can. And if there is something wrong, then we can address it, we can relay it, we can fix it, and they can continue with it,
That's
with their journey.
that's perfect. So is that like support surveys or NPS? I know that's kind of probably older by now, but
Yeah,
trying to think of some best practices of what you do post sale
yeah. So
without
we
spilling too much of the secret sauce.
No, no, no. I mean, from a very high level, I think onboarding is an incredibly important part of the customer journey, especially with products that can be fairly complex. So, there can't be anything worse than you signing up for a product and then being like, I just don't know what to do. All the information is scattered. So, ensuring that the client has everything that they need when they need it, the relevant information to get going, the appropriate training to understand how to use the product and to navigate through it and but get the value that they ultimately thought that they would, I think is an incredibly important part of the journey from, the support side. We're one of the rare companies out there where if you pick up the phone, you're going to get somebody and you can get your question answered right away. And all those support cases that, we receive, those are all logs. So we're able to go back and see, what are some very common issues that customers are having and what we did to address it. And then that also feeds into next iterations of of our product.
It's phenomenal.
Mhm.
Yeah, that onboarding is so crucial, especially I can relate to that sales cycle. There's things that I've spoken with 19 years ago that are finally coming to fruition, even though I'm like with my like third different company since. But the last thing you want to do is you go through such a long life cycle of closing a deal
Mhm.
based on your relationship with somebody. And then if that handshake between sales and product or professional services isn't, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but there needs to be that good transition. And a lot of companies that they just don't do that well.
Yeah.
And it just sets the relationship off on a sour note. That's a
Mhm.
good phrase.
No, you're totally on point with that.
It's not intentional, but it's
Mhm.
just there's things that people learn over time, and it's like how do you take 10 years or 15 years worth of knowledge on something and put it over here when these people are just process driven. It's like, look,
Right.
yes, this is a box of a platform that we're selling,
Mhm.
but there's different things you have to consider.
Right.
I've been on so many calls where we've kicked off projects and they're just like, oh, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, no, 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 no. We talked about that. We talked about that. That doesn't, it's not relevant. It's not
Mhm.
relevant. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So,
And I think over time, as you go through these processes and as you learn, you're able to anticipate what may come up down the road, and you're able to build those anticipations into your post-marketing experience too.
no, it's fantastic. And kudos to you and kudos to the Ivory team for making those investments in whatever platforms you guys are doing for all that stuff,
Mhm.
Martine. So great job, man.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm gonna pivot a little bit to this equipment finance industry and just general thoughts. I know you mentioned congratulations on being the youngest ever trustee. That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
You know, big fan of the ELFF. Scott will probably yell at me for not saying the whole thing. Sorry, Mr. Thacker, but otherwise, I think I said it wrong one time. And very politely corrected me. Yeah, no, it's something he's also very passionate about,
Yeah,
rightfully so. But when do you remember your first conference by chance?
I do. So my first conference was in it was the annual convention in 2014, and it was in San Diego. And honestly, I was super intimidated going to it for my first time. I was freshly out of school in my early 20s. I didn't know anything about the industry, and I was probably the only person at that conference under 50. But I quickly learned that everyone is just, very warm and receptive and approachable and willing to share, all their knowledge and information that they have. And that was also the first conference where I ever sat on a panel. So I
Oh
just
wow,
remember,
well, trial
yeah,
by fire, man. There you go.
exact. I just remember sitting in that room, like on the stage, on that chair, looking out. There's like, I don't know, maybe like 50, 75 people in here, just thinking, what the hell am I doing here? At the end, it all ended up, working out fine. It was the panel was when fintech financial technology first became a term and began entering in the industry. So it was around, what are these fintech players doing? What does it mean? And what could potentially how it can impact our industry. And I guess being freshly out of grad school, I was the token young guy to be on that panel. So, worked out.
That's
But it was
fantastic.
yeah, but it was a fun time. And that conference is also how I first got involved with the ELFA and with a lot of these activities. So it was that Sunday night of the conference, that first evening, and that was when ELFA board of directors decided to put together this emerging talent group. So
Okay.
I was at our booth. Scott Thacker and Judd Snyder cornered me, and they've all told me that I was going to be on the emerging talent group. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds great, and I'll do it. Um, and it was a wonderful experience. I was on that group for 5 or 6 years, and I had the opportunity to chair it and meet so many, wonderful people, and it was just an absolutely amazing experience.
That's awesome. And while I did have gray hair 10 years ago, I was definitely under 50. So
We were the two then.
it is nice to see the diversity between age, just gender and everything at these events now compared to probably since you joined.
Oh, it's such a night and day. I mean, obviously there's always room to do more. But comparing my first conference back in 2014 to the conferences that we go to now, I mean, you're completely on point. They're younger, they're more diverse, there's more women. And frankly, they're more exciting because of all of that.
Yeah, yeah. It's not. I mean, it's still the blue suit crew for the majority of it, but
I
yeah.
will I will say, so first conference in San Diego back in 2014, everyone was with a suit and tie. A couple years later, the ties began going away. A few years later, the jackets began going away, and now I'm seeing some people walking
I
in golf outfits. So it has become a little bit more
I'm
casual.
I'm at what was it the ELFA Capital Connections last year.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Jeans, golf shirt, blazer. See
Yep.
how it goes.
Some all-bird shoes for comfortability.
let's see if I can push the envelope, or people are gonna yell at me and send me up to my room to change. But you know what? I don't want to wear a tie. I mean, you wear a tie when you go see a bank client. Other than that, it's like, really, come
It's
on.
been a while since I just remember if I even know how to tie a tie at this point. I might have to download like an app for it.
First job out of college was J.C. Penney, so I had to wear a tie every day.
So it's just like it's
So
embedded
it just
into
in my
you.
head, I'm like, but I am kind of lazy, and I like to just leave them a little bit there, so that you
Okay.
just have to throw them back over your
You
head and
you
tighten it
you
up a little bit.
you call it lazy. I call it being efficient.
True story. Uh, so that's awesome. So this is be your 10th conference then, I guess 11th conference then in theory.
Believe,
So, well,
yeah,
we had COVID. We had COVID there, so
there was a virtual conference and we were there for it.
it was a virtual conference. And the best part is though, is if you were talking fintech in 2014,
Hmm.
it was probably the same topics of conversation in 2019 before this industry actually moved forward a little bit
Yep.
because of COVID.
We're really moving forward. I mean, it's very recent where e-signatures aren't a major point of conversation in this conference anymore. So we have progressed from
So
e-signatures to artificial intelligence. So we're making progress.
perfect. So I know you brought up AI a couple times here. So is that from the predictive analytics on the portfolio performance? Is that where you guys are tying into, or are there other things that you guys are doing at Ivory
So
leveraging AI?
we're experimenting a little bit on the product side. We don't have really any concrete roadmap for it just yet.
Okay,
We need to figure out exactly if we want to incorporate into our products, what is the value that we can provide. And in products in particular with artificial intelligence, we're in the business of um, helping companies make profit while at the same time mitigating risk. And if you bring artificial intelligence into products that lessors are using to model and price and structure deals or run an analysis, you have to be sure that that information and the output is going to be right. And we're just not there yet, in my view, with
sure.
large language models. We're getting there. So we're doing our from the product side, our groundwork and experimentation, but we don't have really anything concrete on a roadmap just yet. Most of what we are working on right now for artificial intelligence is really just operations enablement. So, how can we make internal information flow faster? How can
Sure.
we enable our sales reps to focus on more strategic tasks rather than on just repetitive manual processes? And the same thing with marketing as well.
Perfect. Sorry, you brought it up a couple times, so I was very curious to see, because everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we're leveraging AI or AI." It's like,
Yeah.
okay, what exactly are we doing? And like
Well,
you said, if it's pricing, portfolio performance, and some of these other things, you're like, let's
well,
let's talk about that.
I can't say that at the annual convention, we will have a little sneak preview of how we are experimenting with it within our products.
Cool.
So
I'll have to
come
make
by
sure
and
I
show.
swing. So that's a little infomercial. So make sure we all stop by the booth. You know your booth number.
We're
'Cause,
we're 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 typically placed right by the bar, which I think is optimal placement.
that's why we never get it. But hey, it's okay. To each their own. That's why you're the marketing guy. That's why you're the marketing guy. Um, Martine, if what advice would you have for somebody just coming into the equipment finance industry?
Uh, Honestly, I think the best advice I can give anybody, and I was very fortunate to really have received it from Scott early on, is I think the best way is to just get involved within the association, within the industry, and to volunteer on really as many groups as you can. There are always volunteer opportunities out there. You just need to go and you need to find them and ask for it. And when I first started within the industry, there weren't really too many resources around all the different operational functions and verticals within the industry. It was kind of just, learning as you go. Now it's really expanded with, the amazing content the CLFP puts out, with everything the association has, with everything the foundation has. But getting involved in the industry early on it got me out of just the very niche part of the industry that I'm in, and it allowed me to really learn about how all the different pieces move together. And at the same time, getting involved, I've met so many wonderful people that I otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to meet. Many of them who, can call lifelong friends. So just getting involved earlier on, I think, has been an invaluable educational resource and invaluable networking resource. And just from a collegiate perspective, is progress being made right now, but I kind of view this industry as, a bit of a black box. Um, I have an undergrad in finance. I have an MBA. I had no idea, about equipment financing. So the education, you really need to go out and get it for yourself at this point. And the tools are a lot better than when I first started. But I still think getting involved early on and as much as you can is probably the best piece of advice that I can give anybody.
Same page, same
Yep.
page. And thank you for sharing that knowledge there, Martine. So I guess my last question I have for you is, what makes you tick outside of work? Give me a little fun fact about yourself, if you don't mind.
Well, fun fact about myself. Let's see here. So I am actually first generation American. Both sides of my family are from Argentina. So Spanish was my first language. I did not begin speaking English until I was in kindergarten.
Interesting.
I don't know if that makes me tick, but it is a fun fact.
No, no, that's definitely a fun fact. So was there like ESL classes and everything? Did it
No,
take, or you just naturally just
it was just here you go.
adapt?
Learn from your
Figure it
friends. Luckily, like at that point in time, you can kind of just communicate with building blocks and toy cars, I guess, and
out.
it all kind
Sure.
of evolved. And now, for the most part, I speak English okay. So,
So when was
cantina.
the last? So how frequently do you guys go? Did your parents go back once a year, or how many times have you been? You said
Uh,
Argentina.
yeah, Argentina. So
I don't see a Messi jersey on the back of your wall there, so I'm just kind of.
oh, it's downstairs. I have it. Don't you
Oh, is it?
worry. I
Okay.
don't think I've ever been more stressed in that World Cup game. I probably
Oh, yeah, Messi.
God, I at least aged or lost like 3, 4 years of my life at one point just from my heart rate being at like 200. But
Said no
we,
U.S. soccer fan ever.
no, I'll root for the U.S. as long as they're not playing Argentina. I'm all in. I can't wait for the World Cup.
I
I
was
will
just,
absolutely be going to the game.
I'm just picking on us. Sorry, and yeah, I can get
Um,
8 people for that. My bad. Just kidding.
it's all good. But I am very excited for the World Cup to come. I don't care what it costs, where it is, where I need to go. I am going to go see an Argentina game or a U.S. game if I have a chance to. Um,
Have you ever seen him live?
seen, you know what? So when he signed with Inter Miami, um, he was coming over to Chicago to play the Chicago Fire. And first thing I did when tickets were on sale, I bought a couple tickets. Day of the game, it announces that he's injured with a hamstring injury. So I went, but I saw Messi-less Inter Miami. So I tried. Um,
Refund. I want a refund. I think I
yeah.
remember reading that too, where you're just like, come on, like at
So I
least
mean, like
give me a
the Chicago Fire called me afterwards and like, hey, we're sorry. We're happy to offer you a discounted season ticket package. I'm like, dude, this is the last thing that I want. I just wanted to go see this Messi in this one game. But next time he comes around, I will buy tickets the day of, and I will go. But to answer your question about Argentina, I try to go like every 5 or so years. I still have family there. My grandma's there. I have cousins and some aunts and uncles. So we did a couple weeks in Buenos Aires. We went to Mendoza, which is the like it's the wine capital of Argentina. It's like
break.
Sonoma, Napa Valley, and then we went hiking in Patagonia, which is like by far the most beautiful place I've been to in the entire world. My wife signed us up for a hike to climb up to the top of Mount Fitzroy, which is like one of the peak areas in Patagonia. And I had no idea what I was getting into. It's like, sure, sounds great. So we get up early, the van picks us up. We drive like 2 hours to the base of the mountain. And in the most like Argentinian fashion, they're like, all right, here you go. Be back in 10 hours. And we're like, so there's no like guide or anything. You're just leaving us to fend for ourselves here.
Did
Uh,
they leave you a bottle of wine at least or something? Here,
it
see if you
should
need
have.
some courage. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, like you even asked, like, what if I like trip and fall and break my leg? And then the response is, well, don't don't do that. But anyway, so like we start the hike. It ends up being it was like a 14-mile hike. So it's 6 miles to the base of the mountain. And then at the mountain, you're basically like climbing rocks for a mile up. And my wife, she's chugging along, she's doing great. I am barely making it up there. I make it up and she's up there, she's crying because it's so beautiful. I'm up there, I'm crying because I survived and I made it.
Then you gotta go back down. Then you're
And
like,
then you
wait a
have to go,
minute.
and then you have to go back down all the way down. I thought I had I never thought like my knees would pulse like that.
Oh,
So I thought I had permanent knee damage, but everything ended up being okay. So that was my last Argentina experience.
that's fantastic. I don't
Yeah,
know. Going up is fine. Down is like, wait a
the
minute.
ground
Like
that's
I see those people going down like Machu Picchu, and I look at
yep.
those stairs, and I'm kind of like, no.
I feel like if you make it to the top, like they should just have like a nice slide that you can take all the way down, like you earned it. Enjoy your way back down.
Nope.
No.
Uh, well, Martine, I really appreciate your time today, man. By the time this airs Wednesday, so by the time this airs, I'll be seeing you in what, less than a week.
Yeah,
So
I'm catching up in Austin in person.
yeah, so looking forward to seeing you here in a couple weeks, man. And congratulations on all your success to date in this industry, and just keep up the great work.
Well, I appreciate it, Jesse, and thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed the series, and you're doing a phenomenal job with Equipment Finance Cares and putting all this together.
Thank you, Martine. Means a lot, dude. Have a good one. We'll talk
All
soon.
right, take care.
Thank you. It's painless, right?
Yeah, that was a
I
lot of
think we
fun.
got